I was 9 when it happened. It was supposed to be just another school field trip. A day outside instead of sitting in a classroom, learning about nature in a real forest instead of from a book. We had been taken to a forest reserve a few miles outside town. The teachers told us we'd be hiking a short trail, identifying trees, birds, and insects along the way. It sounded boring, but at least we weren't stuck inside. At first, everything seemed normal. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting golden beams across the dirt path. Leaves crunched under our sneakers. The air smelled fresh, earthy, with a hint of pine. Some of the kids pointed at squirrels jumping from branch to branch. Others whispered jokes, more interested in messing around than paying attention. But as we walked deeper, something changed. It wasn't immediate, just little things. The air felt heavier, the way it does right before a thunderstorm. The wind, which had been rustling through the trees, stopped. The temperature dropped slightly, not enough to be obvious, but just enough to feel wrong. And the worst part, the forest got quiet. Not the kind of quiet you expect in nature. It was too sudden, like someone had pressed mute on the entire place. Even the birds were gone. Mr. Alton, our teacher, had been leading the group. He suddenly stopped walking and turned to face us. His voice was serious, more than usual. "Stay on the path." We all nodded, but there was something in his tone, something that didn't feel like just a rule. It felt like a plea. We had been walking for about an hour when it happened. Our group had spread out, some kids walking ahead, others lagging behind. I was with my friend Daniel, laughing about something stupid, when I stopped to tie my shoe. It only took a few seconds, but when I looked up, everyone was gone. I spun around, expecting to see Daniel behind me. He wasn't. The trail, which had been a clear dirt path, now looked narrower, almost like it had shrunk when I wasn't looking. And then the trail split. I didn't remember that happening before. One path curved to the left, the other slanted down, disappearing behind thick trees. I took a step forward, hesitated. The air shifted. A sudden cold draft brushed against my neck, raising goosebumps on my arms. It wasn't just the temperature, it was the smell. The fresh, earthy scent was gone, replaced by something musty, something dead. That's when I heard the whisper. My name. I wasn't alone. At first, the voice was soft, a faint murmur blending with the wind. I turned my head, expecting to see Mr. Alton or one of my classmates. Nobody. Then it came again, louder. "Come back." But it wasn't just one voice, it was many, layered on top of each other, slightly out of sync, like a badly recorded tape. And they weren't calling me back to the group, they were calling me deeper. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, every instinct screamed at me to run. But my legs wouldn't move. Something shifted in the trees ahead. A shadow, not an animal, not human. Just something wrong. And then a voice. Mr. Alton's voice. "Over here," he called, his tone distant, off, slightly wrong. "Come this way." I wanted to believe it was him, but deep down I knew it wasn't, because Mr. Alton had never called me by my full name before. A branch snapped behind me. I turned, expecting to see Daniel, praying it was him. Instead, there was a hand, not reaching from behind a tree, not attached to anything I could see, just a hand gripping my jacket. Not a branch, not the wind, a hand. The fingers were too long. The grip was too tight, like something desperate not to let go. And the worst part, there were too many fingers. I yanked myself free and ran. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. Then voices. Real voices. Over here. I burst through the trees into the clearing where my classmates stood. The second I crossed into the sunlight, the air changed. The whispers, gone. The forest, normal. I turned to look behind me. The path I'd just come from wasn't there anymore. The teachers scolded us for wandering, but I barely heard them. My ears were still ringing. My hands shook. Back at school, I shoved my jacket into my locker, not wanting to touch it again. But as I did, my stomach dropped. There on the sleeve, 4 dark fingerprints, too small to be mine. That night, just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard it again. A whisper. Not from the woods. From inside my room.